Welcome to the Valley Fever Voices podcast. I'm Dr. Pamela Dragos, and I'm going to review a book today, Appealing the Death Sentence of Valley Fever, Quality of Life Through Observations from Author and Valley Fever Survivor, D. Waters. Still haven't figured out what the D stands for in D. Waters, so I'm really curious about that. But this is a really quick read and a very interesting book. So, D. Waters is a gentleman that spent some time in prison in Southern California. And in his 60s, developed valley fever or became infected with valley fever. And he had a typical story or journey to diagnosis. So he was actually diagnosed with lung cancer originally, and went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and finally someone figured out that it was valley fever. And he was really sick and really weak. So I think it took like 6 months or a year to get a diagnosis for this guy. So poor D. Waters. But he talks about his past in the the penitentiary and the legal system issues that he had, which were actually quite interesting. And he talks about being on antifungal drugs, and he doesn't really say what kind of side effects he had, but he ended up stopping the pharmaceuticals, and I think it was fluconazole that he was on because of all the side effects he was having. And he also, at the same time, started researching what he could do for himself. And he pretty much just documented it in this book. He documented what he did. So things like diet changes, lifestyle changes, exercise, and then supplements he took. And basically, it was teas that he made. And in here, he actually gives the things that he did specifically. Like he gives you the recipes, he tells you what foods he ate and how he made them and why he used some of the things that he did. And he didn't eat a whole lot of meat, which that was interesting to me because as a um, valley fever survivor myself, I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, and I do eat quite a bit of meat protein. But he started cooking healthy meals for himself. He eliminated sugar completely, even fruit sugar. So he stopped eating fruit. So he really did his research, and he actually came up with some really awesome things and um, foods and um, herbs or and culinary herbs as well as medicinal herbs that are well researched. So that was really interesting. And the book is written very casually, and it's easy to understand, easy to read, and it's short. It's about 50 pages. And he talks about electrolytes and the type of water he drank. Like I think he was doing alkaline water, which is kind of a thing now. Um, that's not something that I did, but I did do some of these the herbal teas that he talked about. And he made a tea with things like neem leaf, olive leaves, paw d'arco bark, and barberry root. And he gives you recipes on how he made these, and he would make them in large quantities and keep them in his fridge and drink them all day long. So he basically um, made teas with herbs, which is the way that you get the medicinal components out of an herb is by making it into a tea, which is an infusion. A decoction would be a longer time that it would simmer, but a tea is just something that would simmer for just, 5 or 10 minutes. or even just steep for 5 or 10 minutes. I like to steep for 15 minutes, but I think he only steeped it for 5 or 10 minutes, which that's fine. It worked. So he talks about, the foods and the teas, and then he also talks about exercise. And he literally could not exercise. This guy was so debilitated, and lost so much weight and was so weak he couldn't even walk to the mailbox. So um, one of the things that got him through this was his mental or psychological strategies, and basically he would see himself in perfect health, and visualize himself well. And he just kept seeing that. He did a lot of visualization, which is fabulous. There are studies on that show that your mental attitude will determine which direction you go. So you want to take care of your body physically, but also emotionally. So he maintained a positive attitude as much as he could. He maintained social relationships as much as he could. He had and has a girlfriend that was very supportive. And then the other thing that he did to help him mentally and physically was he got a dog named Joe. And Joe was a puppy. I think it was a little Staffordshire Terrier puppy that he raised. And the puppy didn't need a whole lot of walking initially because it was just a baby, which really helped him because he was able to start walking with this puppy slowly and build up. And it was really interesting to see, how he took care of his puppy, and the puppy helped him start an exercise program, which was just basically walking. And then he eventually started swimming because his joints hurt so much that, it hurt to move around. So he found that swimming took the pressure off his joints and allowed him to get more exercise. But real interesting story about Dee Waters and his recovery from valley fever. And he recovered with lifestyle changes for the most part. He did take fluconazole or an azole initially, but then stopped. So this is very unconventional, but still it documents his recovery and all the things he did as far as diet and exercise and supplements. And it's nice that somebody actually documented this because, you know, with me, I remember things that I did, but when you're in the thick of things trying to get better, it's hard to remember anything. Like your mind is so foggy. So I'm just amazed that he could remember all this stuff and put it into a book. And this has helped quite a bit of people that have been suffering with valley fever. They can look at some of these recipes and some of the teas he put together. And then interestingly enough, at the end, he put some information on the actual herbs that he used. So the paw d'arco and the olive leaves and stuff. And he actually put some information on contraindications. Like some of these you can't take when you're pregnant or nursing. So it was nice that he put some cautions on the herbs that he took. So it's important to read the whole book. And it's an easy read. And he really did this to help people know what he did and know that there's another way to get better from valley fever. My spin on valley fever is the herbs and stuff are fabulous, but they can also reduce the side effects of the drugs that you're on, which is a bonus. And the herbs will reduce the dosage that you need of the azoles and the other drugs because they're augmenting those drugs. So you won't need as much of a dose. And then you don't have as much of a chance of of side effects with those drugs if you're keeping them at a lower dosage. So sometimes that can help. And with valley fever being so severe, um, I use both the azoles and herbal formulas and nutraceuticals. But he got the job done without the fluconazole in the long run. And I do have patients, as a veterinarian, I have dog patients that were in the same boat as D. Waters. The side effects from the azoles were absolutely horrendous, and the pet parents did not want to put them back on the azoles. So we managed to get the pet better and recovered without the pharmaceuticals. So it's possible, it's just very unconventional because, a lot of us or everyone should be scared of valley fever because it's life-threatening. And he even said that in the beginning, the physician said that he most likely contracted valley fever from a particular penitentiary that he was incarcerated in. And like 13 or 18 inmates had died from valley fever. So that's a big problem. Apparently, the inmates aren't getting the medical care they need, or they're just so stressed out that their immune systems are crap. But D. Waters did a fabulous job supporting his immune system, taking antifungal herbs in tea forms, exercising, using mental activities and visualization to get him to the other side of valley fever. So, super interesting book. I recommend it. It's a great introduction to herbal medicine. He's got like maybe a half a dozen herbs in here, and there are a lot more. So if you're interested in an herbal approach or a natural approach to valley fever treatment, I encourage you to join my private group called Holistic and Integrative Valley Fever Support Group for people that want support with adding holistic or natural strategies to their valley fever treatment. All right, so thanks for listening. Order this book. It's really, really great, and I enjoyed reading it. And if D. Waters wants to contact me and so I can interview him and find out what the D stands for, that would be awesome. Thank you. See you next time.